Hi, and welcome to AXSchat. This week we've got a very special guest. It's Antonio's turn to be in the hot seat. We've done myself, we've done Deborah. So today's very special guest is Antonio Santos. Welcome, Antonio. How's it feel to be on the other side of the questioning?
Well, it's a bit different. So I'm still trying to find my way to it.
We're going to be really hard on you too, by the way. So you should be very nervous.
Yeah, stay calm under pressure. Okay, so I know the backstory. Deborah knows the backstory, but tell me how you first got interested in accessibility and what it was that led you to come and contact me.
Well, a few years ago, when I was part of a training role, I was had the chance of contacting a lot of people, working in different types of accounts. And once I came across a situation that that I realized that was a bit unusual and unfair. We had someone working in one of the teams, and that person was always arriving late to work. It was always that he was not able to arrive on time, but he was a very well knowledgeable employee. He was a brilliant coder. He was brilliant writing scripts, and sometimes he was able to help the team in small things that someone would spend 2 or 4 hours solving a problem, trying to solve a problem, and this guy was able to solve and help the team in just 10 or 15 minutes because he was a brilliant coder with scripts. And the fact that he was not able to be on time at work was somehow something that HR was not looking, they were not appreciating really well. So this guy ended up being called to talk with HR. What's happened to you? Why you're always late? And then I started to realize this guy's quite brilliant. It was one of the best persons that I had in the training room. And I started to realize and investigate more about him. And then I identified that he was in the spectrum of neurodiversity, with in this specific area that I don't want to refer because people might identify him for some reason. And then I realized, and then I start to realize the way how things connect at work and how teams are being managed, and sometimes how sensitive we need to be for people like him who have a brilliant skill, but sometimes they are not really looked into the way that they deserve. And that's one of the things that call my attention to accessibility and to inclusion at work. And the other side is that my wife has chronic pain, so she works every day. She takes care of a 4-year-old, and sometimes she has a very difficult journey at work, and people don't understand that she looks perfect, but in the end she's facing pain, and she doesn't have the patience that she used to have in the past, and the environment and the colleagues are not able to understand her needs. So those are the things that end up bringing me to this space. And the other that end up resuming the way how we connect is because I end up starting to look into conversations that were happening online in relation to some of these topics, and I realized that somehow everybody was talking with each other. People who have chronic pain, they talk with each other. People in other areas, the blind community, they tend to talk with other people in the same space, and there was nobody that was able to somehow connect all these groups because they have common interests. That's how I end up connecting with you, Neil, and later on with Deborah, is to find ways to connect people who have needs, and the fact that you are able to bring them all together, I think it helps to make their voice stronger.
Right, Deborah, I know you've got
Antonio,
one. Yeah, go for it.
thank you, Neil. Antonio, I know that you live in Ireland, but it doesn't sound like you have an Irish accent. And of course, we do know that it's because you're really Portuguese. But tell us more about, living in Ireland, and your wife's in Portugal. And as you noted, she has an invisible disability or a hidden disability that it's tough. It's really tough for your family. But do you mind just exploring a little bit more about that connection?
Okay. Well, today we are lucky enough to have technology around us that allows to keep us in touch like never before. So I spend a lot of time with them with her online. Now we have long conversations. Our daughter joins the chat, and that's how we connect. So we are kind of a few of our family hours are virtual hours. We spend a lot of time on that, and we actually have really long conversations about everything. Sometimes I feel when I was working in Portugal, taking 2 hours to go to work and 2 hours to return from work, we used to spend less time talking than we talk now. No,
Yeah.
it's quite interesting that something I was spending a lot of time in public transports, and then we end up we're all tired. And now that I work most of my time from home, she arrives at home after work. We somehow have this need to keep in touch. It's difficult, where you're not able to follow up everything that is happening on your daughter's life. But she already sometimes she asks me, "Oh, when should I go to your house? I need to. I want to go there." And then well, is not that easy, because after all, my situation here and my situation in Portugal is completely different. So, and to take care of a child is a lot better for her to be there where she has all her grandparents. Uh, she is more supported there than if she was here. She would be
Right.
basically with me and my wife if my wife ever moved to Ireland. So she has more support there than here, and that's somehow one of the reasons that gives me some comfort in the journey that I'm facing. In this distance between Portugal and Ireland.
It is also because there's not a lot of jobs in Portugal, right?
It is that's one of the facts, and
Yep.
is also that the Portuguese management culture is not particularly doesn't deal particularly well with innovation and meritocracy. So it's quite common in management styles in the south of Europe. Uh, it's a very well known fact that when Portuguese employees work outside Portugal, their productivity levels, they just go up.
Oh,
Uh,
that's interesting.
uh, because the it's once more the Portuguese management style, it actually blocks people from innovating, from being creative. So if you compare the productivity levels of Portugal with other countries in Europe, the answer to improve productivity is not in the number of hours that an employee
Right.
spends at work. It's basically in the way how management is managing their employees, distributing tasks, or even implementing technology at the workplace.
Oh, good one. Good one. Well, one thing that I know that Neil and I really wanted to talk about more was, community. Really, how do you, because one thing that we've done, I think, well at Access Chat is we have created a community of, for a very diverse community all over the world. There, we have people that are part of Access Chat that are there every single week, and they're contributing, and they're really engaged, and they've become really good friends. And so I know this is something that's very important to you. So do you mind talking a little bit about how to build community in
I think
the area you're interested in?
No, I'm doing Twitter chats for quite some time, and by testing and by trying to understand how people behave during this type of events, what I realized, if there's a type of conversation and people realize, oh, there's someone here that really cares about what I'm talking about, and then not just in the moment that the event is happening, but no, after, no, every time we are able to keep that connection with the individuals that join the event, or even when you share content that is interesting for them. So it's important that they see you as someone that is there with the purpose, not someone that is doing the event or joining the community or managing the chat because you were hired to do the community management and you have no connection with the type of content and with the interests that they have. So if you're able to demonstrate them that you care, you are able to win their love and their engagement. And the other part is sometimes when you do these events and you have these conversations, you need to step back yourself, and give them the stage in whatever that, it's sometimes on the Twitter chat, I end up sharing more things from the others than producing my own content. So,
Right.
no, it's basically, I'm trying to make sure that when they are participating on the events, they are being listened by others and they don't feel somehow interrupted by me because they already know me, so they know more or less what are my opinions and what I think about different subjects, but it's important to amplify them. So I think that when you do community management and when you do this type of Twitter chats, if you want the community to join, sometimes if you are the organizer, you need to step back a little and give them the voice.
Well said.
Yeah, thank you. And I know that I certainly feel that one of the reasons why AXSchat has been such a genuine community is because we all give a damn about the subject matter, and so we are in tune with the people within the community, and may it continue to grow. I think that's important. We've done a number of things which you've been an integral part of, and that's been our relentless presence. I know I skipped a bit last week, but we still we managed to work as a team to make sure that we're always here. I'm equally interested in I know you talked about the power distance stuff between the management styles between UK and sort of the Latin parts of Europe, but I'm also interested in what the differences are that you see, particularly in approach to things like hidden disabilities, chronic pain, because that's something that your wife is living with. Is it because I think there's a recognition, or there's at least a beginning of a recognition in the UK at least that chronic pain is real, and that it's certainly recognized under the law, and there's definitely work going on within our organization to make people more aware of that. Do you see that same kind of thing happening in Portugal, or is it still a case where people with hidden disabilities are left in limbo?
Well, there's a group on Facebook that is doing a very interesting, where people are able to join and have this type of discussions. And it's very interesting that there has been some very interesting input on that community from people from Brazil, where where people somehow are a little more are able to communicate a little bit better and express themselves in more in relation to their feelings than ourselves in Portugal. So the community benefits from that. So there's been done some work in creating awareness about chronic pain, and is being recognized in society that the problem exists, that needs to be acknowledged. The community is doing a very interesting work, bringing doctors to the conversation, because sometimes what happens is you go to your doctor and the person doesn't really recognize chronic pain or fibromyalgia as a disease or some. Oh, you are making up. So this community is helping the medical community to understand the importance of this, and some doctors were able to engage on that community. So the conversation exists within the society. However, this is not something that the companies and the employers are recognizing. So we still need to do some work in there for companies being able to understand. But this is not in relation to fibromyalgia, even in relation to other disabilities. Just a few years, not long, when we had our first person in the Portuguese Parliament in wheelchairs, they had to adapt the whole parliament just for that person. But a year before, they have spent millions of euros renewing the place, and we have laws for people with disabilities for more than 20 years. So ramps, it's something that is in law, but they forgot to do them in the parliament, and then they had to deal with that situation. And then so it's a type of conversation that you don't often see in the media. People tend to communicate more in their spaces of comfort within their own specific communities. So, but I think there's some progress being made. But no, I'm supporting my wife on her efforts to communicate. She's quite good with it. So I think things will change, but it will take some time.
And I think that's one reason why community is so valuable. I know it happens all over the world, but just speaking from the US, often women with chronic pain are discounted by the medical, saying, oh, it's in your head. Oh, well, of course you're depressed. Look at everything you've got in your life. And even mental health problems, are worse. Women are often discounted. And I know that that's something that a lot of women are marching all over the world with some of the issues that we face. But I also find that, mental health problems in the U.S., if you are a person with a disability like my daughter with Down syndrome, and you're on Medicaid, Medicare, which is government benefits, often you can't even, I'm finding it hard to get good counseling for Sarah, and I want counseling for her just so that she feels that her voice is really being heard, not just from her parents or her brother, but so that she can learn to understand life and how is it different and how can she be empowered, and all the good things that a counselor can bring to somebody that's having a rough time, regardless of what it is. So I think there's a lot of multi-dimensions to these problems that can come out in community conversations, like you mentioned on Facebook. And I know we've talked about these issues on AXSchat as well, but I think community management and real true engagement, that's a very good point.
No, we often talk about social networks, and sometimes we see we tend to bring the negative side of it, trolls,
Right.
bullying, all that. But the positive side of social networks are a lot. When you put the two in the balance, okay, it's obvious that we all benefit from social networks. And we all use them in our own way. And I've observed that some support groups in Facebook, they're actually doing a very good job, where people are able to join and have informal conversations about some of the things that is affecting them. They do that. Some people are very good doing research, where they share with others discoveries or things that are happening in science. And of course, if you are a doctor, you are going to feel the pressure of the communities of people who have a certain interest. And we know, like in any profession, there's always people who try to learn continuously and understand what are the latest changes in their areas, while others, they just don't care about that, and they just continue to do their profession without change or looking for paths for improving and learning. And and today, with all this information around us, patients are more demanding in relation to what they require from their doctors.
Agreed.
I think it's go on.
No. I'm sorry, Neil. You go.
Okay. Now, I think it was interesting because we've also set up employee networks in our internal social network within Atos. So we have something called Atos Adapt, which is our disability network for employees. And what we're seeing is those same kind of discussions. But I think it's even more gratifying in an employee network because actually people are taking that much more of an emotional risk. Now, for people to open up inside the network that is run by their employer takes some courage, but I think it also says quite a lot about how we're positioning and the organization's commitment to supporting people as well, because people wouldn't be doing that if they didn't feel that it was a safe place to do it.
Right.
And what we're seeing is that people are coming together and supporting each other, and we're looking at how we address mental health issues, and we're actually trying to take an approach around wellness. So yes, we recognize that sometimes people aren't well, but the point is that we want to support people and help them be well, or as well as they can be. And I think this is interesting. It's early days, but I think it's gratifying to see people supporting each other and being open. And I think that going back to what Antonio was saying before about the different cultures, I was presenting to an international meeting the other week, and I was getting people to sit down if they had various different disabilities, or people within their close family group had different disabilities, and I mentioned mental health, and of course everyone pipes up going, well, you don't have to admit that one. I said, well, I'd sit down.
Right. Me too. Me too.
Because
it's part of being human.
It's part of being. Yeah, absolutely, it's part of the human condition, and actually, it's very common. But I do understand that perhaps certain cultures are more comfortable talking about disability than others, and that we're further along the line. What I hope is that as we network, as we communicate across international boundaries, the confidence to come forwards, but the disability confidence of the employees to be open, confidence for the employer to address the issues will spread rather than the fear coming back the other way, because the last thing we want is the fear. So we're great believers in openness here. I know Antonio is. So my next question is how do we create the confidence in people to be open about disability more?
I think you need to talk about it in different channels, and some you need to find ways within your within the leadership teams to ask people in those roles also to come forward, to tell their stories. It's also we also need to find. We had a few examples on AXSchat of people who were change makers in the American Disability Act, who had important roles in the political environment in the United States, like Senator Antonio Coelho, where someone in his position had epilepsy, a day that is being celebrated today around the world. So if people like him were able to come forward and tell their story, we need sometimes to bring stories like Tony or and others that we had, and bring them to inside the corporate conversation. I think that could be one of the ways, is to have these conversations more frequently. And the other is, we are talking here about online conversations, and we are here live, and this will be on YouTube. But sometimes is also provide a space where people can do that more privately,
Right.
not necessarily in the event that everybody is going to tweet or film. It's important to give also space where people are able to find comfortable and talk about themselves without everybody else having to know. I think that will be for some people, that will be a first step.
That's a very good point too. And I decided on AXSchat, because I'd never talked about it before, to talk about my my dance with depression. And sometimes it's very intense. And I'll admit it's been very intense for the start of 2017, with us losing my father-in-law, which we really loved, and just some other family issues, and of course our political situation. It doesn't help, the drama and the fear and everything. And I do want to acknowledge something you said, Antonio, that I agree with. I agree with everything you said, but I really agree that more good is done than bad. We often hear about the bad, and there's a lot that is bad, but having the courage sometimes I don't want to confess some of the things I talk about on AXSchat and also on my radio program, Human Potential at Work, but I think I need to be authentic about it. I need to be authentic. And it's like I have to, but then I worry, people are going to think less of me because I have ADHD and I have depression and I'm not the world's greatest mother or wife. But another point you made that I think is very powerful, I'm a talkative person. And so my husband would rather have his fingernails pulled off than have to be talking in public like this. And he's the person that when you go around the room and everybody's introducing themselves, he's dreading his turn. Whereas I'm like thinking, what can I say? So it's just these different personalities. So I've often had people say, and I'm thinking of a woman right now in Chicago, and she's doing amazing things, but she doesn't like the limelight. And so she's like, I'm always watching AXSchat. I watch all your interviews. I am watching all the tweets. And I said, well, why don't you join? She's like, no, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I have people telling me all the time they watch it and they learn and they get so much from AXSchat. And they are saying, please expand to Facebook, please expand. Is there any way that Instagram can be involved? But they don't want to their dirty laundry, and that's not fair to say, but they get a lot out of it by observing. I think is very powerful. And I've said often to people, we track all of our analytics, and often when our guests are on, you'll do the Nuvi report and we'll get all these great analytics, and people are shocked at the numbers that are involved with being part of AXSchat. I mean, the numbers are multi-millions. I mean, it's just ridiculous analytics, ridiculously powerful analytics. But what we can't track are the people that are just, sometimes we call them lurkers, or people that are not liking or contributing, or they're just watching. Catch the watch, because some activity has to happen for the analytics to grab it. But we think the numbers, as powerful as they are much bigger. Don't you agree, Neil?
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I've talked to a number of people that said, "Oh yeah, we love what you're doing," and say, "Well, I never see you participate." And they say, "Oh yeah, well, we kind of watch and see what's going on, and we like to dip in and maybe then we've got people that are doing it asynchronously, and then they don't necessarily feel comfortable coming back to the questions after the event because not everyone's available during the hour." I'd just say, do it whatever time, doesn't really matter, but I understand. So I think that there's definitely room for finding other outlets and other ways of sharing stuff. It's what I've noticed is that some of the content that we've created gets reshared elsewhere, and so it's funny to see, and somewhat humbling to see Dave Baines, who's one of my accessibility heroes, posting up these little Twitter cards that I've made for AXSchat on, and they're appearing in Instagram. Which so it's fun to see that, and also, as I said, somewhat humbling because Dave's a hero of mine and he's posting my stuff. Another hero of AXSchat, of course, is
mascot. Come on.
Dogs at dogs at the workplace.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
Right.
you see, he's good for my mental well-being. I work at home. I don't get to see people very much. I just speak to the disembodied voices. So it's important. So I think that
and if you behave well, you will have a kiss.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, since he's probably a bit
I
smelly
remember.
today.
I remember one day when Antonio was home. I just thought this was so cute, and some of y'all might remember this. But Antonio was home in Portugal, and his beautiful little daughter was sitting next to him and just petting his arm, his arm. And then you've got Bonbon running around and giving the old kisses. So I mean,
Yeah, we need to bring your Randy Rooster in.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. How could that possibly go wrong?
Oh no, I couldn't think why. Yeah, no, never work with children or animals. They say we've done both.
That's right.
No, and it's quite interesting that the two of us, we never met. The trio together, we've never been in the same place ever. So it's also interesting how the work works today. It will be impossible for us to meet without the technology that we have available, and we somehow end up getting into each other's way a bit randomly. And I think this is one of the most interesting things that I find today in social networks. How you end up connecting with people for like this, and then you end up working and doing interesting projects together.
I think it's hugely powerful. Yeah, it's
it
really
is powerful. I agree. Well, Antonio, thank you so much for letting us, talk about your brilliance today. I know Neil and I just really cherish the work that you do and what you bring to AXSchat. We just would not have been as successful if we didn't have you as part of the brain power. So, and of course, we really thank all of our community. It takes all of us to create this village that we've created. So, and I'm glad that we do it globally. I joined from the US, you joined from Portugal and Ireland, Neil joins from England or wherever his travels are taking him. I just think we really have something very important that we're doing here.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thanks
Deborah.
again.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Good job.
Bye. Yeah, good job. Bye, Bonbon.